Yeah, Chrissy's right up.
Okay. Hi, Kirsten. It's supposed to be Miro Guzumian teaching this class, but he had something come up. So now it's me and you.
Seriously? Oh my gosh. You don't have to do it if it's just the two of us.
No, and if you need to sign off or anything like that, just let me know. That's totally fine. So, and yeah, no, you and I could just have a conversation. I mean, I don't need to like go back and pretty much it's fine if no one else is here. Okay. So you and I are going to be seeing these slides for the first time together, just letting you know that, because again, this was supposed to be Miro, last minute, couldn't do it. So, and then again, if you have to leave, just let me know.
What was your name?
My name's Chelsea. I'm on the Riccio real estate team.
Okay. Thanks, Chelsea.
Yeah, of course. Okay. What successful agents do every day: grow business, lead generate for buyers and sellers, make seller listing presentations, and get. Okay. So pretty much, again, you and I could just have a conversation because no one else is here. What I personally do to grow my business every day, as far as seller leads go, I do my best to just any lead I get, whether it's through my database, whether it's, a lead that Todd sends in, I do my best to write letters, handwritten letters. I'm kind of in a system where if I just get a lead, whether it be through my database or somewhere else, I'm in a system of putting them in my CRM and then immediately just writing a handwritten letter. And that's actually been pretty successful for me in the past. And as far as buyers go, in the low inventory market, obviously, I mean, I'm sure everyone sees this. There's not a lot of inventory out there right now. So I've had a few FHA buyers this year where what I've done is just send out letters to their desired areas. And there's been 4 times this year alone that I have double-sided properties just strictly doing that.
So saying that I have somebody interested in your home or a qualified buyer, and is that what you mean?
Exactly. So what I'll do is pretty much just, let's say it's, an area of North Ranch. I'll cater to that area and send out letters. And these are real buyers. So I feel good about doing this because these are real buyers who, not necessarily North Ranch, but specifically with the experiences I've had in the past, FHA buyers who, are in a market right now where there's 10 other offers on a property, some are all cash. So these buyers get, they have a letter, we send them out, and then we'll get calls from potential sellers. And then we'll kind of do like an off-market situation.
Huh.
So
okay.
That's kind of, that's how we've kind of done it in the past.
And when you said you write handwritten letters, is that to leads or to your farm or everything?
It's catered to the buyer. So what we'll do is, again, if the buyer, is designated to an area in North Ranch, even a specific community, we'll just mail the community. And I mean, I'm sure, if this is recording and I'm sure people are going to watch it back, that does cost money. And then if money is an issue as far as, if you're just starting out in the industry, another option would be to just handwrite letters. I mean, it's time consuming, but when you're new in the industry, you're kind of trying to get your feet on the ground. And that's what I would do as far as if I was new, if I didn't have, the budget that I've grown to have in this industry, I would do that.
Right. Well, I have a budget simply because I worked before. So, but I'm literally I just got my license October 12th. I'm brand new. So
welcome.
Thank you. So I appreciate everybody's tips and these meetings, and just my neighbor actually got one of those letters saying, I have a cash buyer looking in the neighborhood, and they sold it. They moved and closed within weeks. So clearly that works in this type of market. Do you do on the Riccio letterhead, or what do you think is the best? Since it's just me and you and I have your undivided attention.
There's actually some other people on too. So hi, everybody.
Is there?
I cater it to each buyer. So what I am, what I'm going to be honest, what I'm fearful of is to have just kind of a templated letter sending it out. And then,
Right.
this potential sellers are like, hey, like this person is just sending out letters to get buyers. So what I do is
Right.
cater it to that specific buyer. So the FHA buyer, for example, I'll put a picture on there. I'll kind of go through their story with their permission, obviously. I'll go through their story. I'll just say, this is somebody who, this is Todd and Chelsea who are looking to move to North Ranch and with the high inventory market. And I will cater it specifically to them. So that's what I have found to be successful. So we can move. What? Okay. So qualify and convert seller leads, listing presentation. So this is kind of talking about our listing presentation, our listing appointments. Right off the bat, when I do get a seller lead, wherever it comes from, I want to make sure I qualify them. So I call them, I make sure, I introduce myself. I tell them our credentials. I'll tell them, whether it comes off of a sign call, something like that, I'll give the background story. And then before I hang up the phone, my motivation above all is to get the appointment. Even if they're not necessarily ready right now, whether that be, we've converted people, we've gone on appointments a year out and have got the call a year later. So the motivation that I always do is get the appointment. So whether that be, hey, let me come over, let me tell you about the market, let me tell you, let me give you a free market analysis on your home. That always works a lot as well. You just want to get in the door. So as far as phone calls and pre-qualifying them, make sure that their motivation is to sell, obviously, eventually. And again, whether that be next week or next year, get the appointment. So do you have any questions on that? Anybody?
No, sounds good.
Okay. So the do not call list, pretty much don't call. I don't know if you guys have listened to Terry and Gay speak on Wednesday morning meetings. There's people right now literally just sitting by the phone, making money off of realtors or off of anybody who calls, and they're getting them. They're settling outside of court. It's crazy right now. So whenever whenever we're doing the dialer or anything like that, we are triple checking that the do not call list is on there, because you're dead in the water. If you call someone on the do not call list, I would say you're again dead in the water. And just to go over it, saying like subscribe to the register. Let me move this out of the way right now so I can see.
On that do not call list, there was a special on 60 Minutes, and it was a 16-year-old kid who was making all this money doing that because his parents were on the do not call. So it was a story on him just raking in thousands of dollars. He's like, I'm sitting home doing homework and
Well, not only that, there's people coming into businesses, and if they're not COVID compliance right now, like to go a little bit off topic, if they're not COVID compliance, they're cracking down there. And I think it was Terry telling us a story the other day about how someone came into, I don't know, I think it was a story of a story, but someone settled outside of court for a grip of money just for the tables not being 6 feet apart. It's crazy.
ADA and COVID. Yeah.
People are taking advantage of the system, unfortunately. But again, the list right here where it says subscribe to the registry, all of that. I mean, it all goes back to just triple checking what you're doing. If you have a list in front of you, wherever you got the list from, just triple check that do not call list is applied. Okay, finding seller leads. So to start the database, especially if you're just starting out, your database is everything. What I did, I'm 3 years in the industry. I've like to think I've had some success within that 3 years. So what I started out doing was just hitting up my whole database. I mailed out letters stating I am a realtor. These are, this is whether you're on a team, whether you're by yourself. before I was on the team, I used Keller Williams credentials. So I would go back and I would be like, this is the percentage that everyone as a whole sells in my office. So I kind of just worded it that way, mailed out letters to my whole database. I also called everybody in my sphere, and I'm sure everyone knows what a sphere is, but called everyone who I would, consider calling up for coffee. That's how you consider someone in your direct sphere. So again, just putting them in the know, letting them know what you do, just kind of building that clientele, building that trust within your database. Open houses. I actually did a lot of open houses when I first started. Right now, obviously, it's not the easiest thing. They're not allowed. But when they do open up, what I try to do is I try to do an open house every single weekend, because again, I started 3 years ago. Todd and I are closing a client in next month who I met 3 years ago at an open house. So just, again, building that database and building that clientele, whether it's next month or next year, 3 years from now, that's something that's huge. Referrals, obviously the referrals are going to come from your database. They're going to come from your past clients. So just make sure you're calling on the holidays, you're, getting birthdays, you're building that, direct relationship with everybody in your database, because it goes so far. I mean, we have something called Punchbowl where we kind of put everything into a system and we'll get alerted. So it'll be like, hey, Chelsea Jacoby's birthday is this day, call her. I called Chelsea Jacoby and I say happy birthday. Always end the conversation, reiterating that you are a realtor. And again, don't try to sell them, but it's something that's going to pop up. If they are in your direct database, it's going to be something where it's like, how's work? Oh, work's great. The market is on fire right now. Please always keep me in mind if you know anyone looking to buy or sell. So that's kind of how I handle direct databases. And going into finding the seller leads through all of that, I mean, it speaks for itself. When you're having that conversation, just always ask who they know looking to not only sell, but buy as well. So that's what I would suggest. And then qualifying and converting leads. It's pretty much the same thing as what I had originally spoke to a couple slides back. Just try to get in the door. Qualifying enough is as soon as you hear I'm looking to sell my property, whether again, that be next week, 3 years down the road, that is a lead. That is a contact that you've made that's thinking about selling. And then we've had situations where someone's told us they're a couple of years out, and I'm not going to lie, I backed off the pedal a little bit. Come to find out, they sold 2 months after I spoke to them. So always just staying in that direct line. Make the contact, put them in whatever you use, whether you use, the CRM, whatever you use, just make sure you are staying in front of those people. Sending them handwritten letters, on holidays, every other month, just being like, hey, I'm here to help whenever you're ready. If you have any current questions on the market, just let me know. Just always adding value to these people. And again, for everyone who doesn't know, I'm subbing today for Miro, so we're looking at these slides together for the first time. So this one's actually really good, connecting questions. So what I do when I speak to people for the first time, I am looking to just get their life story without being too aggressive about it. I will get their last name, obviously their first name, their last name. I will ask them, hey, if you're looking to sell eventually, can I get your property just so I can, see if I have any buyers specifically? That actually helps a lot too, because especially in these times, people aren't putting their houses on the market specifically because they don't want people in and out of their house during the pandemic. So sometimes just for people to hear like, oh, you have a buyer? Well, yeah, here's my address. Let me know. It's adding value to these people. So pretty much just get everything that you can without being too pushy. That's my main thing. And again, sometimes the pushier people get the client, where I don't do my business like that personally. If I feel that somebody isn't, is rejecting, there's a line that I personally won't cross, but other people, they're good at that. So, all of this is pretty much summed up into getting everyone's information, getting all the information you can. Get a feeling for their timeline, obviously, is huge. You want to know, again, back to that week or that year, you want to know when they're selling, just so if they are a year out, you're still constantly making that contact. Pinpoint their location. Another question I always ask when I'm speaking to a seller is, okay, you're not ready this month, you're looking 2 years later, but when you do decide to sell, do you have any place where you're specifically looking? Because sometimes they're like, I'm wanting to move out of state. California's crazy. I'm sure everyone's heard that. So you just want to get all of that database, or you want to get all of that for your database, so that when you go and you look back into your CRM in, 3 months from now, you're like, okay, Chelsea Jacoby, spoke to her. She's looking to move to Nashville in 2 years, but let me follow up with her because things are changing every day. So that's another good thing. So the who, what, where, why, when, how is always big. I mean, when I first started, I would have kind of that template by me, and I would just kind of check it off as I went when I spoke to a lead. Every lead is valuable. Every lead is, in your mind, winner's mentality, put yourself in the position of, I'm going to convert this. So, yeah. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, moving on. I don't think. Has anyone spoke to any leads that they have any questions on or how to handle it? Okay. So a seller lead category. Let me go back. Okay. So everyone should have a place where they're implementing their database, implementing their leads. Speaking to someone, this is pretty direct. I mean, this is a model that you can go off of that, does help some people because it takes you back to when a seller is ready to sell or when a buyer is ready to buy. So your A category, 0 to 14 days. So I'm very aggressive on my CRM. When I have a lead that comes in, I'm always putting them in A until I get a response. So I'm, typically following up with them every day, just to kind of get the response. If I get the response of the lead who says, I'm ready, I'm a year out, but I am looking to sell, I will more so put them, C category I don't like. 61 business days, anything could happen. It's way too long in my personal opinion. I've tried it before, and that's when I've reached the seller who sold, who told me they were 2 years out. I don't suggest C. B, 15 to 60 days. I mean, you can write someone a letter and just say, hey, thinking of you, there's always going to be a holiday probably within 15 to 60 days. So there should never be a reason you go that long without following up with someone who told you, literally inquired on, I want to sell, I want to buy. So that's just my model. I do feel it works. C, I wouldn't suggest ever putting someone in a C category unless they said, hey, please don't reach out to me until I am ready to reach out to you. Then it's like, okay, don't be annoying. And if any of you do have any questions, just interrupt me. I talk a lot, so just interrupt me.
You're doing fine.
Thank you. Categorize your seller leads. Everyone categorize your seller leads whenever you get a chance. Okay. So does anyone know the difference between a lead and a contact? Anyone? Okay, that's what's hard about all of you being online.
Isn't it contact is one-sided, or no, lead is one-sided and two is two-sided where you've had a conversation, or am I swapping those?
Oh, Ryan Cohen, lead is one way, contact is two-way conversation. So yeah, Kristen, you both were pretty right. How I look at a lead that's the person I'm putting in my database that I'm following up with every day. With me every day, if someone who doesn't want to be that aggressive, every other day is fine too. A lead is who I'm trying to make a contact. So I'm getting some type of verbal response of I'm either looking to sell, I'm either looking to buy, hey, I did this inquiry by mistake. So if you do make that contact and connection with them, then they are a contact. Then with my CRM, I have something where I have an A buyer, A seller, B buyer, B seller. And then from there, I have a seller lead, a buyer lead. Then a seller or a buyer. So I'll have the two contact categories. So when I do make the contact with the lead, I'm putting it into either category. And that's just kind of how I stay organized with it. And then again, I'm putting a cap on when I'm reaching out to them and kind of going from there. So that is the difference between a lead and a contact. When you do speak to somebody and they tell you, I made this inquiry by mistake, or, hey, I inquired on this property, but I'm not looking to buy. I'm just kind of looking. Still put them in your database, still follow up with them. You never know. There's a reason why they were, if you do realtor.com leads, if you do Zillow leads, however you get these leads, if you're paying for them, these are people who are on this site inquiring on a property. So they are somewhat of a valuable person to put in your database, in my opinion. If you're going through your own database and your friend from high school comes out and says, yes, I'm looking to buy, in a few years, they are somebody who should go in a category of somebody who's looking to buy, and they should be someone who you're following up with. So going back to anybody who says, hey, I inquired by mistake, I'm a couple of years out, you're ending the conversation always asking for a referral. And again, it's not to be pushy. It's just to be like, okay, well, anyone else looking to buy or sell, please let me know. I'm, Keller Williams, Westlake Village, and this is my stats, this is my team stats, or this is my office stats, something like that, adding value. And I always suggest asking a question for it because it makes the other person respond. Because if you come out saying, if you know somebody looking to buy or sell, please let me know, versus who do you know looking to buy or sell? The second part is always kind of demanding an answer. Even if they're like, no, sorry, I don't, that is directly stating I do not know somebody. So that's just kind of another tip that I've gotten myself in a habit because I started off the opposite way. And I was like, no one's ever responding to me when I say these things. So, so number 3 just kind of goes into exactly what I've been saying. Ask them to reciprocate the connection you've made. I'm going to skip these because I've been talking about this whole time. Pre-qualifying buyers. I'm preached it over and over again. Everyone knows how to pre-qualify a seller, buyer. Anybody? This is actually a really good one too. A questionnaire. My team has actually got ourselves in a habit of doing this because it helps you going back to getting all the information you can about a seller, or I will say a buyer as well. It tells you how you can put it in your database and how you can follow up and be like, let's say Cynthia said, I want to sell, but I'm holding off because, we're taking a trip to Rome next month, which obviously wouldn't happen right now because COVID, but I'm taking a trip to Rome next month. So, follow up with me later. You have that trip to Rome in your database. That's pretty much stating in a month, follow up. She's out of the country. Hey, how was Rome, Cynthia? It's building that connection. So going back to it, we've gotten ourselves in a habit of pre-qualifying this way. 5 minutes so I can take some very important questions before I come to meet you. So seller's name, obviously you want the address if you're going to the property. Phone number, most of the time you're calling them already, but just setting the appointment, this kind of makes it, if you get yourself in a regimen of building the connection and setting the appointment, there's something right in front of you, which you're literally just checking off as you go. Okay, the seller's name is, well, you have the tax roll in front of you. And if anyone doesn't know what that is, let me know. You should have the tax roll in front of you. So if you get an inquiry on 123 Main Street, you're going to the MLS, you're typing 123 Main Street in the realist tax information, and you're getting who the seller is and the seller on title, whether that be in a trust, whatever it is. So a question that I've gotten myself in a habit of, will you and your husband be there? If you see both people on the tax roll. If it's just Cynthia who's looking to sell her house, I mean, as long as Cynthia is there, you potentially can get that listing agreement signed. But you want to get yourself in a habit of all the decision makers being there already. It helps. You're not trying to convert twice. How did you hear about me? If they're calling you, it's most likely off of a sign call. It's most likely off of a listing you have. If you have a Yelp account, it's possibly off of Yelp. You want to know where the information is coming from and why they are calling you, if they are calling you, which if they're calling you, I mean, great. You have a heads up on a lot of people. Where are you moving? We went over that. What's motivating you? We kind of went over that too. How soon do you have to be there? Again, these are all questions that are going to be asked naturally, but having something like this in front of you to just check off as you go, write it in so you can put it in your database is huge. It's going to be very, very helpful down the road. And it's something I had to learn. At first, I wasn't implementing everything. I was just happy to get a phone number and a first name. So I would role play, but no one else is really in the room. Practice your listing presentation. You always want to go unprepared. This is telling you to just go outside and practice your listing presentation for 10 minutes. I mean, no one's really here right now, so I'm not going to take up 10 minutes of everyone's time. I'd rather just have you guys do that on your own time, and then feel free. I will make sure to give my number at the end of this. If any of you have any questions or ever want to contact me, I'd be happy to help whoever needs me. But to touch base on the listing presentation, I am not great with being in front of people. I do get a little weird, like talking, and I have so much information that I want to tell somebody that I'll sometimes say it so fast without explaining exactly what I mean. What I feel I've really gotten good at is talking to every seller, every buyer like they're a second grader. Like, I've caught myself saying RPA, like when the buyer signs an RPA and a seller's like, what is that? And it's like, oh crap, like it's a residential purchase agreement, and then explaining it. Just talking to a seller from the basics, just talking to them like, this is what I'm going to do for you. This is from start to finish, and just going based off of that is huge. Come prepared. Never show up late. If you show up late, it's already in your head. You're not going to speak as well as you could. I taught in myself. We go on listing appointments together. We both make it a point to always show up 10 minutes before. We'll go in, we'll knock on the door. Seller will come, answer. We'll be like, hey, we're a little early, but if you're ready for us, we're ready for you type of deal. And sometimes they're like, oh, can you give us 5 minutes? And we're like, totally fine. We just want to state the grounds, like, hey, this is how we operate our business. If you're not early or late. I was an athlete my whole life, and that was kind of something I lived by. And I've implemented that a lot into my my career now. And I do feel that I never have the stress of being late, obviously, unless I'm showing buyers around, and you know how that goes. But just for being prepared for a listing presentation, having what you're going to say down, whether you have a book of what you say, whether you just kind of free for all and have the conversation with the seller, whatever you're going to do, be prepared for. Know where you're going, know the area around it. A lot of the times Todd and I will drive to the comparables, and we'll be like, yes, this sold for, $750,000, but this, it had a smaller lot. It, had street noise. It was on herbs. We kind of just we want to, the more knowledgeable you are, the more qualified you sound for a seller. So. These questions are probably for you guys, but I think, how has your thinking changed? What idea mindsets were new? Do any of you have anything to say as far as that goes? I mean, was there any aha points? Was there any questions that you guys have? Anyone?
I think it just confirming, write everything down and keep a record of everything and everyone in your database, like you said, birthdays, and just be accountable and use that to guide you. And those questionnaires were helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. The more prepared you are, the more confident you're going to be in your business. That's for sure. Anyone else? Okay. Daily success habits. Again, be prepared. Get yourself in a rhythm of showing up to the office at the same time every single day, because even if you're working from home right now, whatever you're doing, get in a habit. What does it take 21 days to build a habit? Start getting in those now. If you're going to show up, let's say you come into the office, if you're like, hey, I could confidently show up to the office at 9:30 every day. I have kids. Working out is a big thing for me. Whatever suits you best, start building the habit. So 9:30, if that's when you're going to be in the office, be in the office at 9:30 every day. If you start out checking your emails, get in a rhythm. If it's not on the calendar, it does not exist. That's something that I've had to learn the hard way as well. Some people are better, planning out their weeks. I personally, I'm sure a lot of realtors, because our days are kind of sporadic, I've gotten myself in a habit of doing it every night, because mostly at night going into the next day, I know if I'm showing a buyer, I know if I have a listing appointment, I know better the night before. So building a habit, putting everything in your calendar, being prepared. If you get a seller lead, have a regimen of what you do. Again, I told you guys, if I get a seller lead, first thing I do, put it in my CRM, write a handwritten letter, send it out. Well, obviously, first thing I'm doing is calling. So do that first. But after that, it's just a habit that I build. So I highly suggest that. I think it takes a lot of stress off of you. And it's just, you build habits where it's kind of just like mindless stuff to do. Only thing you really need to think about is when you're calling that person, get the appointment. Any questions on that? Everyone's good? Okay. So this is going to be different for everybody. I got myself, and I don't know if I'm like veering off of like some type of strict thing that I need to talk about, but I don't necessarily go off of this model. The 10 contacts a day, the 10 conversations a day, 10 handwritten notes. I do what works for me. I've been in the industry long enough to kind of know myself and know how I operate. So I do my best every day to make 30 contacts a day, because that's more, it's 1 to 100 is the ratio. You're going to talk to 100 people before you get one lead, one contact, whatever. That's the ratio. So just 10 contacts a day isn't necessarily something that I would do, especially starting out. I would be in this office. I would be calling. When I was able to, I was door knocking every place I can door knock, just getting in front of people. That's what's going to help you. What I do, I focus on 30 contacts a day, but if I have 5 good conversations that take up a long amount of time, and then I'm pushing for time, I'm running into other appointments, by no means am I like, damn, I didn't make my 30. And a lot of people will tell you, don't leave the office, don't end the day without doing it. But that's just something that I've found to be successful for myself. Starting out, I 100% would make the 30 contacts a day though, just because you need to start building your database. Conversations a day, that's kind of, it's relative. You could spend all day, all night calling and, not reach somebody who it's a quality conversation. It's just how the industry goes. 10 handwritten notes. This you guys can double down on. It doesn't cost a lot to handwrite and send a note. I mean, you're paying for a stamp, or you're paying for postage, and you're paying for a letter. So that's something, especially new, especially someone with not a lot of, not a big budget right now. Handwritten notes are huge. I would, if I could do it all over again, when I went back and I just kind of sent out, a little letterhead of saying, hey, I've now entered the real estate world, I in turn would have handwritten most of my letters, just because it shows that you're caring about these people and you're taking the time to really tell them and really, add your value to them. I think handwritten letters go very far. Home previews a week. If you're just starting out, I mean, it's hard to, especially right now in this crazy market, it's hard to kind of put that stress on yourself as far as I'm going to preview 10 homes per week. If you are calling, it goes back to, even if they're a couple years out, just telling them, I will come over, I'll give you a free market analysis and go from there. That's how you're going to get in the door. And just adding your value through there. Even when, in the past, when I've said, even if you're far out, I would love to come over, tell you what your home's worth, tell you about comparables in your area, and we've converted that way. So it's definitely doable. A lot of the times, I mean, I'm sure all of you guys could put yourself in a position where you've had telemarketers call you and you're like, let's say they're calling you for, a new stove, I don't know. And you're not in the market, your stove breaks down and you're like, well, crap, now I'm going and I'm looking for somebody to give me a stove. And that's a horrible example, but you guys know what I'm saying. You yourself have told telemarketers and told, salespeople, I'm not ready right now until you are ready. So that's just something good to think about. Make your own goals for this. I highly suggest that. And I wouldn't just do 10 contacts ever. I would aim for 30. That's someone who's going to be successful in this business, is someone who aims for that amount of people and looks for the quality conversations. Again, scripts. I have my own scripts that I kind of go off of. I've gotten myself in a habit of, whenever I get a certain lead, if it is a seller lead, I'm pulling out, the seller property questionnaire. I'm going through it and I'm making sure to ask all the right questions there. I'm not necessarily reading off a script and going from there. I'm not good at it. Some people are. I'm too awkward to read off a script. So that's just a personal matter there. Building confidence is huge. When you are just starting out, it's hard to, come out there and be like, oh, I've sold this, I've sold that, when you haven't. So that was a big deal for me. And then I started getting to the point where it's like, you have nothing to lose. I started telling people, like, when I first started out, obviously when I wasn't on a team, the first couple months I was here, I was more so telling people, like, I'm young, I'm hungry, I'm ready to put my full focus in, just having you as a client. And you don't have to be young, you could be old, it doesn't matter. I'm just starting out, I'm looking to build my business. You could be honest with these people. And, sometimes that works. People respect that, especially in your database. People want to help. So just kind of put that in your full frontal. And know that, especially if you're calling your database, these are people who most likely love you and most likely, want you to succeed. So just reiterate that, and I'm wanting to build my business. So yeah. Everyone practice your scripts. Go. Okay. I think we actually went back through. Any questions? Anyone? Okay. Well, again, if you guys have any questions, you can get my information from Emmy. You can call me anytime. Again, I would love to help you guys. Especially the people who are just starting out, I've definitely was in your seat, and I was in your seat not too long ago. So I'm always here. So let me know.
Thanks, Chelsea.
Yeah, of course.